Jesus in the temple at 12 years old, and his first miracle. The wedding in Cana. Luke 2:40-52. Nazareth, the boyhood of Jesus, was nearly 70 miles from Jerusalem. The Jews who lived in this city could not go every week to worship God at the temple, so they built a house of worship, called synagogue, in their hometown. Here they attended religious services, and listened to the reading of the books written by Moses and by the prophets. As a little boy, Jesus lived in the humble home of Joseph, the carpenter, and played among the shavings that fell from Joseph's bench. He also liked to run about and play in the warm sunshine, as little children do today. But when he grew old enough to go to school, his parents sent him to the synagogue, where other Jewish boys were taught to read and to write. We are sure that Jesus studied his lessons well, and that he gave careful attention to the books he read each day. These books were copies of the Psalms and of the writing of Moses, the lawgiver, and the prophets. Like other Jewish boys, he learned to repeat many of these scriptures from memory, for he never had a Bible of his own. One spring morning after Jesus was 12 years old, a company of Jews started from Nazareth to attend the feast of the Passover at Jerusalem. Every year since their return from Egypt, Joseph and Mary had attended this feast, and now, as usual, they were in this company. But this time they were taking with them the boy Jesus. Other children too were going, and they would enjoy the long trip of nearly 70 miles much more than would their parents and grown-up friends. As the company moved slowly along the road, other Jews from cities and villages nearby joined them. And when they came to Jerusalem, they met people from every part of the land. What an exciting time this must have been for the children. How wide their eyes must have opened when they saw the beautiful temple on Mount Moriah, with its white porches and immense pillars of stone. And perhaps they stayed close by their parents during the first days of the feast, lest they should get lost in the throng of people who daily crowded the temple courts. Jesus enjoyed this feast as much as did this parents and grown-up friends. Although just a child, he was beginning to realize that God was his Father, and that he must work for God. So he listened to the readings of the law, and to the words of the chief priests and scribes who taught the Jews every day. But we are sure that he acted very much like a healthy 12-year-old boy, for his mother did not notice how deeply interested he had been in the services at the temple. After the feast had ended, the company started on its homeward journey. Mary did not see her young son, but since she supposed that he was among their kinsfolk and friends, she did not feel uneasy. However, when at evening he did not come, she and Joseph began to search for him. All through the company they went, asking about Jesus, but no one had seen him that day. Then they turned with anxious faces back toward Jerusalem, and for 3 days they searched for their missing child. On the third day they found him, not playing with other boys in the streets, nor learning to swim in the pool of Siloam, but sitting in the temple among the wise teachers and asking them questions, which they could hardly answer. Mary was surprised when she found her boy in the temple among the wise men. She had looked every other place for him. She knew he was a boy, just a boy, and she was surprised to find him so deeply interested in the teachings of God. She came to him and said, "Son, why did you stay here when we were starting home? Your father and I have been anxiously seeking for you everywhere." Jesus answered, "Why did you seek for me? Did you not know that I must be about my Father's business?" He meant, "Why did you not know where to find me at once? For I must be about my heavenly Father's business." But Mary did not understand, though she wondered much about the meaning of his words. The wise men in the temple had been much surprised to hear the wisdom of the boy Jesus. They had gathered round him to ask questions that only wise persons could answer. And Jesus answered them, "Everyone." But when Mary and Joseph came to the temple, Jesus left the teachers there and returned with his parents to Nazareth. He was an obedient child, and as the years passed by he grew into a noble young man. Not only did he learn how to explain the scriptures, but he watched Joseph at his work until he too became a carpenter. And by his kind, thoughtful ways he won many friends. In this humble home in Nazareth, Jesus lived until he was about 30 years old. Jesus' first miracle in Cana. The wedding in Cana. Jesus' first miracle. John 2:1-11. In CANA, a little town of Galilee, lived some friends of Jesus and his mother. One day these friends invited Jesus, his mother, and his followers to attend a wedding in their home. They invited many other people also and prepared a feast for them. Perhaps these people were poor, for they had not prepared enough wine for all the people who came to the wedding. And before the close of the feast, the wine was all gone. Mary, the mother of Jesus, saw that the wine had all been used, and she called Jesus aside to tell him about it. She knew of his wonderful power, and she believed he could surely help in a time like this. Then she told the servants who waited at the tables to do whatever Jesus might command them, for she expected him to supply the need in some wonderful manner. In every Jewish home there were large vessels, called water pots, which the people kept filled with water to use in washing their hands and their feet. The Jews were very careful to keep themselves clean from dust and dirt, and because they walked about everywhere with only sandals on their feet, they needed often to wash. In this home where the wedding feast was being held, 6 large water pots of stone were kept for this purpose. Jesus called the servants and told them to fill the water pots with water. And remembering his mother's instructions to them, the servants drew water and filled the vessels to the brim. Then Jesus told them to draw out from the vessels and fill their wine pitchers again. When they obeyed, they saw that wine flowed from the vessels they had just filled with water. At these Jewish feasts, one man was chosen to be the governor or ruler of the feast. He tasted the food and the wine before it was placed on the tables to serve the people. Jesus told the servants to take this wine to the governor and have him taste it, just as he had tasted the first wine that had been served to the guests. Now the governor did not know what Jesus had done. He did not know that the other wine had all been used and there was no more to be had. When he tasted the wine which Jesus had made from water, he was surprised because it was so much better than the first wine which had been served. Calling the young man who had just been married, the governor said, "At other wedding feasts the best wine is served first, but you have kept the best until the last of the feast." This was the first miracle Jesus performed, and it showed his willingness to help people who are in need. When the men who followed him saw what he had done, they believed on him, for they knew that no man could change water into wine as he did. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Comment your best Bible stories, like and subscribe for more Bible stories like this. Subscribe and turn on your notification bell on for the next video. Jesus in Jerusalem for the Passover. See you soon. God bless you.